In today's episode, we are going to do some dividend tracking. We are going to look at my M1 account, and we're also going to look at my Robinhood account to see the monthly dividends for the month of October 2020. But first, if you want a channel that is going to help you speed up your journey to financial freedom through dividend growth investing, Stately Investing is the place for you. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications, and let's get started. Okay, so let's first look at the chart view of my dividend tracker. So we are in the month of October, and for the month we did $123.99, so $124 in my M1 passive income portfolio, which is the account that has the most dividends in it as far as the week to week and the month to month. And then overall, for all of my accounts, we did $399.71, so almost $400 in dividends, which it was way more than I was expecting. Same thing for the M1 account. This is actually higher than I was expecting, but not necessarily higher than what my calculator was forecasting, and we can get into that in a second. But you can see last month was a ridiculous month for me for dividends. End of the quarters are typically when a lot of end of the calendar quarters is typically when a lot of dividend growth companies are either growing their dividend or giving out their dividend. And so that's why you'll see in the months of like September and December, I have large spikes in the amount of dividend income. So I'm hoping that this end of the year, the end of 2020, December 31st, it will be my biggest dividend income month to date. You can see last December I was at 782, and I should be somewhere above that for the end of the year. But let's look at October, and if we compare it to 3 months ago, so that would be July, you can see that not only was my M1 account up, so I've more than doubled that, which is good to see. I've also increased the overall total number of dividends, and that's just given the size of my portfolios, right? So we can jump back to my M1 passive income screen, and you guys can see. So the fund size is just gone up, right? So like if we look at the end of July, I was at $30,000 total, and now at the end of October, I'm at $36,000, and not a lot of that is market gain, right? So if we look at the activity for the past 3 months, actually, let's look at these. You can see that the market was down around $611. So, I'm still putting money in. Obviously, last month was one of my lower months. I only put in $1,000. But you can see I've consistently been adding money. 1,000 is usually like the lowest amount I'm going to put in every month because I'm automatically putting in 250 each week. But you can see this is not really coming from market gains. This is coming from dividend growth. So overall, my dividends have just steadily been going up each month, which is what we like to see. Unless there's a dividend cut, this number should really never go down. It might be somewhat different from from month to month, but if you look at the previous 3 months, right? So if we look at July, again, you can see I've pretty much doubled against that amount. So overall, really good gains for my M1 account. Let's look at the total dividends data. So you can see these are my 3 M1 accounts here up top. This is the main one that we track on the channel. The other one that we track is Robinhood, and you can see Robinhood almost beat out my M1 account this month. So this was super surprising to me. The reason this happened is because I have a super large share or super large portion of shares in Store Capital, and Store Capital pays out in this time frame, right? So at the end of October and at the end of July. And the big difference is I purchased a lot of Store in between those times. So you can see that is really paying off with my dividends. And at some point, this Robinhood account might actually produce more dividends than my M1 passive account, at least on the times that Store pays out, right? So we'll look again at the end of January to see if Robinhood actually surpasses my M1 passive account. So we can go to the histories of each account. Let's do that now so you guys can actually see what dividends came in. And here we have the view of the dividends for the month. So you can see starting October 1st, I was getting paid dividends. Basically throughout half of the month here, I received dividends. Nothing in the second half, which is a little bit surprising. Usually they're a little more spread out, but you can see in October here, it was all weighted to the first half of the month. So a big dividend from Coca-Cola And my biggest dividends were in my two tobacco stocks, so Altria Group and Philip Morris. You can see just those two alone provided me over $60 worth of dividends for the month. And then you can see my REITs, again, are always doing work for me. So Store pays out at $18 for this quarter, and Realty Income paid out in $3.23. But remember, Realty Income is monthly, so that's actually a fair amount. So overall, you can see that, there were some big winners, big hitters in here this month, which we like to see. And this is only going to continue because guess what happens with all of this dividend income? It gets reinvested back into my overall portfolio. So this is what we like to see, just dividends working for you, making your money work for you, and having the patience to hold on to these dividend stocks even in down markets. So what I will also post up top is a link to my other video on 3 tips you should do when the market is down. But let's jump over to the Robinhood account to see exactly what was going on with my dividends in that account. All right, so we are in my Robinhood account here, and you can see the dividends for the month of October. So again, Coca-Cola paid out the earliest. I do have some Coca-Cola stock in this portfolio, and I'll jump to the portfolio here in a second. And then I also have Altria in this, so similar to M1, Realty Income, similar to M1, and Store Capital, similar to M1. But you can see that this Store Capital is just a huge amount, right? So this $93.04 was reinvested. All of these are reinvested. You'll see that after each dividend that I get paid out. But this is something that you guys want to be doing with your dividends. Like I said in one of my videos, I think it was my last video, do not take that money from your dividends and go spend it unless you are retired already and you are withdrawing money from your portfolios. I highly recommend that you reinvest your money and put them back into the dividend stocks. That allows for compounding, and your greatest asset in investing is time. So you want to be patient. You don't want to sell your dividend stocks too early, even if they are growing in price. Unless you think this stock is no longer good for your portfolio and doesn't belong in your portfolio anymore, I always recommend reinvesting back into your account. So why don't we go back and look at my actual account here? And you guys can see, just a quick overview, right? We're at a total value of $21,000. All of this is sitting in stock and options, only $5 in cash here. And you can see what makes up this portfolio. So it is a little different than my M1. There's a lot fewer stocks here, but they're basically based on whether or not I think they are undervalued at the time. And right now, I think there was a recent dip last week. A lot of these stocks are still undervalued. The only reason I haven't been buying a ton of stocks in the past week is just my cash position and not having enough funding to be able to buy things at extremely low prices. But things that I would have bought if I had the cash for them would be Altria. So anytime Altria is below the $40 mark, I'm excited about it. It puts that yield at right around 8%. Gilead is below $60. That's one that I'm always excited about. Realty Income is just about to hit $60 again, but anytime it's below $60, it's something to take a look at. RTX, Raytheon Technologies, is another $60 stock, although it's a little more up and down. They had decent earnings, but overall they've had some issues, and so there's some opportunity there. And then AT&T, the model used to be AT&T below 30. I still believe that, right? Like I almost have 100 shares here. But overall, there were points where AT&T was at $25. So there were some good deals to be had overall. But in general, I think my favorite stock is Store Capital. Obviously, I did a whole video on why Store is my favorite. I'll put a link up top. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite stock is and what your favorite dividend growth stock is. Are they the same thing? I love to get your feedback on the video. Feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. But overall, you guys can see I had a good month of dividends. I'm excited for the end of the year to see how it all shakes out. But this past October was good to me and hopefully good to you out there. So if you got something out of this video, just wanted to give you guys an update. Love all the feedback, love all the comments. Keep them coming, keep the subscriptions coming. It helps out the channel tremendously. And I will see you guys again next week.